Columbia, Houston on Teeters West. We see all 5 latches latched. Congratulations on a super photo survey and a perfect berthing. There are a lot of smiling faces down here in the control room and a lot of happy PIs across the country.
Roger, thank you. There's not a lot of happy faces, but all the faces we have up here are smiling and happy too.
I bet. Nice job, Columbia.
And Houston, we do have one question for you. I guess it's not clear exactly what attitude sequence you want now. From the message this morning, there seemed to be a couple conflicting things. One that we start the rotation at 10:15, and another that we maneuver back to the minus COV YVV at 10:15, and that's where our confusion is right now.
Roger that, Dan. We've got a couple of changes for you on message 21B, and basically we'd like you to start there coming out of the berth at line 57 in message 21 Bravo, where it says change DAP Bravo to Bravo 9, and then we have a couple more changes.
Okay, Houston, I understand that at this point in time we should change to DAP B to Bravo 9 and maneuver to the minus XSI and initiate that maneuver at 8:25 and then start a future rotation at 10:15.
Okay, Columbia, that's all correct, except we need to change that time on line 63 from 8:15 to 8:45. And that was on page 2, of course. And then on page 3, we've got another change on line 16. That maneuver is after your crew sleep. But if you want to monitor that, you can go ahead and perform the procedures as written, and you can do that in DAP Alpha 1. If you do not wish to monitor that maneuver, then go ahead and leave the DAP in B9, and the maneuver will proceed on its own. And either of those procedures is acceptable to us.
Okay, let's see if maybe we got it this time. Okay, at 8:25 you want us to maneuver to the minus solar inertial attitude, and at 8:45 you want us to start the rotation, and then after pre-sleep you want us to go to the minus ZOV YVV, and we can do it in DAP A if we monitor it.
That's correct, Dan. Good readback.
Okay, thanks.
Columbia Houston with a couple of flight notes.
Go ahead, Houston.
Roger, we have a congratulatory note for you from the LDEF folks. It reads, congratulations and thanks from the LDEF folks for an outstanding job. You have been a dedicated and devoted part of the LDEF team. We will thank you in a more substantial way when we all meet at KSC to inspect the LDEF. Signed, Bill Kennard for the LDEF team.
Oh, great, and we'd like to thank him for all his support in getting us up to speed on all the very important science and the interesting experiments that are included on LDEF. And I think they're going to have more than a handful of data to work with when we get back.
Roger that. They'll have plenty to keep them busy. And Dan, you should have two messages in the tags tray. One is a traj and the other is the message that we just read up to you.
Okay, we only have one so far. We do have the traj one.
Roger that, Dan.
Excuse me, yeah, we got both of those.
Columbia Houston, to clarify this maneuver at 8:25, we'd like you to do that in DAP A1 and then go to B9 for the maneuver at 8:45.
Okay, that's what we're planning to do. Thanks.
Houston, Columbia.
Go ahead, Columbia.
We're at the EIS checkout, and we show 6 white indicators.
Roger that, Bonnie. We copy 6 white indicators. Columbia, Houston for Bonnie.
Go ahead.
Bonnie, we need to clarify the procedures a little bit here in your pre-cradle position. In order to set us up properly for future RMS ops in the next couple of days, we need you to take wrist roll back around 360 degrees to 0. And that way we'll be, the wrist roll range when we come up next time will be properly set up for ops.
Okay, I understand that. Negative roll to put it back into wrist roll range 3.
That's affirmative. Thanks a lot, Bonnie.
No problem. Columbia.
Go ahead, Columbia.
Yes, in driving wrist roll in the negative direction in the course rate, we got a control error light on it. We went to Mal 13.1 echo, and it had you do a diagnostics on the joint there in block 21 by taking the mode to direct, and we think it's just a function of having getting course and driving it around, and we think the joint's okay. We'd like your thoughts on that.
Giovanni, we see the message. We're looking at it. Give us just a couple of minutes, and we'll be right back.
Okay, just for info, the blocks we worked were blocks 1, 4, 6, 11, and 19, and we stopped there because it has us do a direct drive look at it, and we think you have some insight there.
Roger that. Understand blocks 1, 4, 6, 11, and you stopped in 19, and we'll be back with words momentarily.
Roger.
Columbia, Houston for Bonnie. We'd like you to go ahead and continue in Mal 13.1 echo, go into block 21 and do the direct drive check and wrist roll and continue through the procedure.
Okay, we'll do that. Houston, Columbia.
Go ahead, Bonnie.
Yes, we worked block 21, went to block 30. There was no caution warning check CRT light, so we went to block 31, concluded it was a false alarm or transient, and 32 is the concluding block.
Columbia, Houston. Bonnie, we concur. We saw everything that you did. We'd like you to go ahead and press on with nominal ops.
Okay, thank you. Houston, Columbia.
Go ahead, Columbia.
Yes, on Power Town, we got the same messages we got the last time we powered down the slip messages. And also, which heater would you like me to leave on?
Bonnie, we see those same 5 PDRS slip messages. Again, no action, same phenomenon, and we'd like the alpha heaters on.
Okay, copy. Alpha heaters on. Thank you.
Columbia, Houston for Bonnie.
Go ahead.
Roger, Bonnie. We see 4 joints and an all on your PDRS slip messages. That fills up the buffer down here. We'd like you to check the fault sum and see if you got messages on all of the joints.
We got 5 joints and the all. We did not get shoulder yaw. It's very similar to what we had last time.
Roger that. Understand. Columbia, Houston, we're with you on East Idris, and we're ready for the downlink of the playback.
Okay, stand by.
And Columbia, Bonnie, the reason we're interested in the playback is that Murphy got us, and just during the grapple we went LOS, so we haven't seen it yet.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to give you a little bit of coming through the V-bar, a little bit getting established on the R-bar. I don't believe you saw any of that either, and we don't have any editing facilities, but and then we'll show you the end of the grapple, too.
That'd be great, Dan. Thank you. Columbia, Houston, for Dan, we've got a number of flight notes for you before we put you to bed, and we're wondering whether you'd like to work our way through that now or get them a little later.
Well, why don't we run you back this VTR, and then we'll grab a few flight notes, and then we'll maybe be sort of done-ish.
Roger that. We're standing by.
Well, that's, as you can see coming up on the V-bar, actually, that thing looked a lot bigger than it does in that scene there. It was kind of, you'd had to estimate the distance. I think you'd have thought you were a lot closer than you were some of the times. We did, in fact, go to low Z at 1,000 feet and managed to maintain that all the way in the grapple, and the vehicle behaved pretty well. We hit the R-bar a little bit long, but rather than stop on the, we hit the V-bar a little bit long, but rather than stop on that and drive in, it looked like we had good rates and everything going, so we just motored on up through it and kept the closure a little high as we started a round up to the R-bar, hoping to get there a little sooner that way, and it all seemed to work out reasonably well. We're jumping ahead now a little bit to get established on the R-bar.
Well, we appreciate the video. We were watching all through that on the digitals, but it sure looks good.
I was real pleased. You know, you do all that training in the simulator and in low Z, and sometimes you can get in a little bit of trouble in low Z, so you're kind of be real cautious and wondering if the simulator really simulates the vehicle. And here, just like in the simulator, you see we get some blooming of the LDIF as we get up on the R-bar. Once again, it looked like it was about in the attitude we expected, and we did the Omicron maneuver, or the 30-degree yaw. And we just barely got established on it, and we went into darkness. We had the streamlight, you know, that big spotlight from inside up and ready to go. I wasn't exactly sure how much lighting it. We were about 250 feet on the R-bar when it got dark, and I wasn't exactly sure how much lighting we were going to get out of those payload bay lights. But and we tested that streamlight before we started the rendezvous just to make sure it was working. But we didn't have to use it. The payload bay lights and the docking light did a good job. Okay, now here we're about where we picked up, and where you were seeing some of it is we're coming up in the end effector camera and getting a good view at it. And it was slow and easy, but once again, with not knowing exactly what kind of trouble you can get into if you start bouncing off the dead bends in low Z, I was willing to take my time and just keep the rates low, and figure we had plenty of time. And as you can see, it worked out pretty well. When I finally stopped it, we had a little bit of rate on it and a little bit of closure. It doesn't really show up in the camera, but you can see it when Bonnie starts backing off a little bit. It had just a teeny bit of closure towards her, but once again, was well within, we felt, the capability of the arm. So rather than try and fool around anymore in low Z, we just went to free drift and let Bonnie have at it.
The picture blooms a little bit here because we're actually night, and you're watching the end effector camera with a spotlight on it. Eventually we'll get some daylight. But the picture was actually quite good, and it gets better. As Dan said, there was a little bit of closure, but he did a super job. We just kind of watched this thing crawl along, and we knew the trace, so we knew where our landmarks were right away.
Roger that, Bonnie, and we're getting some great video down here. We appreciate your commentary and Dan's, and we're just continuing to watch the grapple phase. You guys did
Okay, we'll give you a few more words. We're just going to, once we work up to this tray, we knew we were getting close. Off to the right there is Don Lynn's experiment, and that was a real good landmark for us to get to where we needed to go. I was a little concerned about not having all my cameras, but, you know, having the real thing there made it a lot easier to figure out where we were. It was interesting trying to use the cameras at some distance because we did get a lot of blooming. I played around a lot with that. I think I got my best detail on the attitude of LDF through the binoculars. I tried using the cameras I got so much booming I couldn't tell where the keel was. So I took out our binoculars, I think they're marine issue, and looked at it, and it was very easy to tell. This next particular tray is sort of interesting because it's reflective, and you get a look back at the end effector as it's coming up on the visual there.
After that, we're looking at it, and it sure is a lot better video than we'll get out of the SMS.
Roger that. We got to this tray, and we knew that the next one up was our grapple fixture tray.
And Bonnie, this is about the point where we left you, where we lost the video.
Okay. Well, what you'll see is Dan said there was a slight closure. We had planned to do a DTO where I was going to pause for 20 seconds and we'd look at relative rates. I guess we assumed they would be in X and Z, but instead they were in Y. So we did the grapple while I was backing up. I rolled in course and then pulled back a little bit in course, went to verniers and went in for the grapple. So we didn't get the 20-second delay, but I think we got some good data.
Columbia, Houston, we have a message for you from the administrator, if you're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, it reads, to Dan, Jim, Bonnie, David, and Marcia. Your mission from the moment of liftoff has inspired the people of America and the world. Today, as you flawlessly executed the LDEF retrieval, literally millions paused from their daily routines and quietly watched America's space program at its very best. You accomplished a job that only the space shuttle with its astronauts could accomplish, and best of all, with the help of our superb NASA flight control teams, we made an extremely complex evolution look easy. I do have one gripe, and that is that I'm not on orbit with you. I'm looking forward to seeing you when you return to Earth next week. Meanwhile, thanks for providing us Earthbound folks with such an inspiring start for the 1990s. Signed, Vice Admiral Richard Truly, Administrator.
Well, that's great, and we were certainly honored to be part of the team that pulled it off.
You folks did a beautiful job.
One of the things I did notice, this was my first operation in end effector course, is you notice the dynamics when I started to back away there. You get a lot of motion. And I had to stay in course so I could rotate around. Otherwise it would have taken too long. I think I would have had to back away too far. But this got me around, and then as soon as I was aligned, I went into verniers. And then I had to do a little bit of track and capture. It wasn't too bad. Actually, Dan makes my job very easy.
Roger that, Bonnie, and we're still getting good video.
And at this point, we were extremely happy because we had a good grapple and we were ready to continue on. At this point, it doesn't show up anywhere in the video or anything, but Wexby took over and manually flew to the protect attitude and maintained that attitude throughout the photo survey. And Marcia took more photos than I'm clear to tell you, but she'll tell you in her film report tonight. And I think that'll all go well towards documenting and helping with the data that they hope to get off of LDEF.
Roger that, Dan. We copy it, and we were watching Wixby. We didn't see him deviate from attitude even a little bit. You all did just a super job as a crew. And we have just a few more questions for you while your memories are fresh here on the grapple.
Okay, go ahead.
We were wondering whether or not Bonnie noticed any cross-coupling during the berthing, and whether or not that was about what she expected from her STS training prior to flight.
Yes, I did see cross-coupling. The most significant cross-coupling was in, I tend to drift forward in X and tend to pitch down where I had to compensate by pitching up. Draper had briefed me that I would expect this type of motion, although I thought that what I experienced was a little bit more than what I saw in the simulators. I was pretty much having to keep riding on top of both of those.
Okay, Bonnie, copy all that. And did you have any comments regarding the procedures that you had integrating Wixby's manual vernier attitude control and the RMS ops?
No, we had practiced it a lot, and we knew the key to it was to talk to each other and communicate, so he knew what I was doing and I knew what he was doing. And, of course, David was all part of this. David was keeping us straight on what our Z position was so that we could, both use the right numbers in all our displays and so forth, and whether we're vernier course, et cetera. And so it was just a function of working together and training to do it.
How'd you copy that? Did you notice any RMS dynamics during the vernier jet firings?
During vernier jet firings, the arm was solid as a rock. it looked real good.
Roger that. That's good news. And the last question we had, a couple of questions regarding the CCTVs and whether or not the bulkhead CCTVs were critical during the berth, and whether or not you were utilizing the keel camera at all.
The B and C cameras were very critical. I could not see the D guides with the A and D, so they weren't used, and I hadn't trained with them. I'd been training just with the B and C. I was using the keel camera as a cue, but there was still some question, I think, when I left as to how it really tracked down the visuals. We took the video of some of that track for the folks back in the simulator world. I had hoped to use the elbow camera on the RMS as we got low, since that was a good cue for yaw, but it was largely unusable. I tried it a couple times. It looked like there was something hanging in front of the lens, and the picture was pretty sketchy, so I ended up not using that.
Okay, Bonnie, we got all that. Did anybody else in the crew have any other comments regarding crew coordination or vehicle performance during the photo survey and the berthing?
From the orbiter side of the house, the vehicle flies extremely well in vernier with the small pulse size that we had. I did not notice any motion induced on the orbiter by the arm when Bonnie was moving the arm. I do need to thank the Draper folks for looking at the data that Bonnie and I got over in the sail when we went over and ran the simulation. The simulators are extremely good. We found that if we kept the rates of the orbiter fairly low, that any changes in center of gravity with the payload would not build up any rates significantly, and I did not see any rates build when Bonnie was moving the arm.
Okay, thanks for the comments, Wixby. Appreciate it.
The one minor problem that we did have was with some cross-coupling. Anytime you command a yaw, you get an opposite roll, and anytime you command a roll, you get an opposite yaw, and it sometimes causes you to use a little bit more pulses than you'd like. But after a while, when we got the rates where we wanted them and kept them nice and low, then it was manageable.
Roger that, Wixby. We got it all. Thank
you. I'll give you the daily film report.
Oh, wait one, please,
the
Dan.
LMAX folks, we shot some Red Sea this morning, and then we shot the LDF against the black space. We shot the LDF against the Earth limb. And then in the heat of battle, we couldn't get you any more than that, and we apologize. We shot an inside shot through the 4 windows as requested, and that's all. The rest we will get for you, stage for you later. And I figure I shot around 800 shots of just LDF with the 70 and the 35, and then, I don't know, 20 minutes or so of camcorder. I could have done more, but the other guys were using the windows.
Roger that, Bonnie. Got it all. It sounds like you're busy. Thank you.
Hi, Steve. That was Marcia with the film report. And I'll just close on the RMS. I thought it was a real nice tool. Enjoyed operating it.
Hey, Bonnie, thanks a lot.
And we're
You
ready
did a
for
great
the
job.
flight note. And we're ready for the flight note.
Okay, Dan, first we'd like, sometime before you go to bed, we'd like a repress on the right ohms. We plan on sending you an orbiter state vector sometime before you go to bed, so you can expect to see that. And we've got cryo config pre-sleep after the fuel cell purge on R1. We'd like O2 and H2 tank 1 heaters alpha and bravo, 4 switches off, and O2 and H2 tank 2 heaters alpha and bravo, all 4 switches to auto. And then we need O2 and H2 manifold valve tank 2